You are watching the RSS with the Kuchingite, myself Rashid Saleh and Jason Sim right here in Kuching, Sarawak. You can't tell because we are in our studio setting at the moment. And we've got, of course, this is the 8th episode, I think, for the RSS.
Count.
Still
Okay.
very young.
Yeah.
8 is a good number. And apparently we're going to really go into what goes on with this head of mine. No, actually, we're just going to be talking about something that you probably thought of just earlier while we were having, a few calming drinks.
Yeah,
and dinner and drinks.
Well, let me start with what do you think about the Olympics so far?
Oh, the Olympics been great. I mean, by the time this comes out, which is probably this coming weekend, I think the Olympics this year has been. I mean, the opening ceremony was bizarre to say the least. But you would also expect that from the French. I mean, you're a Manchester United fan, Eric Cantona, as you know, as much of it he is. Well, yeah, he's flamboyant. As much he was a genius, and he was. Being neutral here. Actually, I'm not being neutral. As a genius he was not just flamboyant, but he still comes out left field.
Right.
You don't know what's coming out from his mouth, and what's his thoughts. And I suppose there was a big hoo-ha with the opening ceremony when it came to the Olympics, which I found quite bizarre. Yeah. But it's the French. If I was very, I would say, lucky to grow up in Europe, but in the UK, the French have always been we even talk about French rugby and English rugby. The French rugby, yeah, it's different to everyone else. But overall, the Olympics has been okay from a Malaysian point of view. We'll see. I mean, I have no expectations when it comes to our. I always feel like it's like this. I mean, whatever the other people say, whoever has reached, and if you've ever been a sportsman and played at least a good level, to get to the Olympic, just to get to be able to qualify for the Olympics, it's a massive achievement. You don't understand that until you've actually tried to get to where they are. So for me, every single Malaysian athlete or sportsman that's been able to represent Malaysia at the Olympics is already, you're an Olympian. Do you know how many people get to that stage? Not many.
I mean, you had a friendly match with Rexy once.
Oh, so this was when I was with ESPN. And he was, I don't know whether he still remembers that, but he gave me an 11-point lead and I lost 21-11. I mean, that goes to show.
Yeah, there's levels
he's
to this shit.
He's not just an Olympian, he's a gold medalist, goodness sakes,
Are you happy with the coverage so far?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously, we always become very passionate when it comes to the Olympics. I have friends who usually don't watch sports. They're from the arts. They're theatre people. They know nothing about sports, but there they are, on social media supporting. I think it's great. Every 4 years we come together. It's just like the elections, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every 4 or 5 years we all come together. Yeah. But sports has always been for me a thing that really binds people together, and that's why I love sports.
Did you make anything of that little hoo-ha in badminton about them not showing the men's singles match? Oh,
that was on RTM.
RTM,
I think I'm not sure whether it was an honest mistake or something. Somebody forgot to switch, or it was we could always. I have a few friends who work for the Olympic Channel as well. We don't know. You need to get to the bottom of things, but I think Saimi Simon did very well to address it immediately and not let it fester like you know how most things happen when we do it. Everyone's trying to figure out what's happened. He's gone in there as the head of of RTM to not just nip it in the bud, but the fact that address it and say, okay, doesn't matter whether it's our fault or not. I mean, I didn't really hear the whole speech, but to be able to address that immediately and say, okay, it's our fault, whether it's our fault or we've addressed it, which is really, really good. And that's good for us, that's good PR.
Yeah, so before we get into other stuff, just more sports questions. Like you've involved in sports broadcasting for like Asian Games, like big events like that. So like, yeah, what is the lead up to stuff like that? And just curious, you do a lot of those variety segments and things like that, and broadcasting and stuff like that. How much are you involved, and how much are you responsible for like ratings basically as a broadcaster?
For us, well, sports broadcasting, I'm not. I mean, ratings are seemingly important, but I think it's getting out the good content, and it's the same thing with social media now. For us, being able to, it's always telling the story, isn't it? And in anything you do, whether you're doing just a small piece or you're doing a film or you're doing a TV show, the message must be put across. It's a lot easier for me when it comes to sports because I know, I'm not saying I say, yeah, we know what we're doing because we love it so much that we go ahead and learn about the sport. So whenever we do pieces like that, I mean the Asian Games, although I was already a sort of a senior presenter, and we had guys already on the ground covering the results and all that, I was very lucky enough to be told by the editor at the time to go and do what we call color stories, which I did when I was working with ESPN as well. So whatever we did the. It was more of like I wouldn't call it the tourism story, but we always try and relate it to the sports or rather the location that we're at. For example, Guangzhou at the time, we were doing the Asian Games during Hari Raya Haji. So we'd go and visit the mosque. And so this and basically inform the audience, this is where where they're going to be performing Hari Raya Haji, and then look like for Malaysian athletes or Malaysians who are coming here, the halal restaurants here, blah blah blah, or you want to go to do like bungee jumping, which I did. There's actually a color story of me doing bungee jumping in my like Astro Arena gear, just to tell them where Bayun Mountain was.
In China?
In China, in Guangzhou. And then we did another one on the panda. It went to the zoo to cover the pandas in the zoo.
Yeah, I saw
but
that one. Oh.
We had an athlete, and it was so funny. I can't remember what her name was. Which she met me in Guangzhou. He said, I watched your color stories. I want to go there after. If I have time, I want to go there. And so in a way, we were like promoting Guangzhou in China, but through sports. So it was a lot of fun.
How much is a broadcaster responsible for like the ratings for sports events?
I think if you're the host broadcaster, you're already paying a lot. I think a lot of it has to do with probably the kind of sponsorship that you get. So it's you have to look at the inner workings of the station and of the company to be able to get that ROI back. Obviously, viewership is really important because that's where the sponsors will be able to showcase their products and stuff. So as you can tell, last time I remember a long time ago, and I said Astro, when we do what do you call it, satellite TV, we're never gonna have advertisers. We're like, no, that's not gonna happen because you need money, you need revenue, and obviously now you got all this Shopee, blah blah blah. But yeah, it is important in the sense of you get the right ones, and of course the numbers do help. But when you're doing stuff like the Olympics or the Asian Games, the numbers really do speak for itself. I'd probably like to say like the World Cup or even the European Championships, Astro survived because of of super sports. Because I think realistically right now, a lot of the subscribers, including myself,
Yeah, that's the only reason I
there's
guess.
one reason why we're on Astro, right?
Yeah.
I think we've mentioned this before, because of the sports. So yeah, if not, will it exist? I don't know.
Anything we can learn from the broadcasting?
What, satellite TV?
Well, I mean, we're gonna host like SUKMA, SEA Games. Just
Wow, it's like go straight there. Again, from what I hear, obviously RTM and Astro Arena are also helping out with TVS and stuff. I think I may be wrong. I'm not going to put my, but I think the opening and the closing ceremony is going to be done by RTM, which I've done so in the past. If you read the social media comments, they're like, we hope that SUKMA's opening is going to be better than the Olympics. In terms of scale, I don't think so, because we're talking about the Olympics.
Yeah.
But maybe in terms of the way it was presented,
Yeah.
we don't know. We always come up with really good opening ceremonies anyway. And again, it's just a scale. With the Paris Olympics, it's very different because you're talking about a lot of money, whereas SUKMA is very different. But I think we'll probably get for bang for your buck or buck for your bang, whatever what the expression is for when it comes to SUKMA. So hopefully that's going to be good. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing all the opening ceremony, all the athletes here. It's going to be fun for for those almost 2 weeks.
Looking at all the sports events, sports teams, maybe sports personalities in Sarawak, who do you think is the most marketable?
In Sarawak,
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah, do you feel? Maybe in Malaysia, but
I mean, we've got our diver at the Olympics right now. But apart from him, I mean, again, they should, if I was, and this is where our local station should make use of people like Pandai Leila, because she's here. I mean, we should, it'll be really good for the station to be able to have our look, or train them to become pundits and stuff, especially for the diving and all that, where they can give really expert opinions on how things are done. We've still got Watson Yambe and all the other, whether it's Tanya Bugo or all the other former athletes from Sarawak who's represented Malaysia. We should be able to utilize them and for them to be able to be the face of the station. And that's what we did with Astro Arena as we moved along forward after that. We used now the Olympics right now, the pundit is Tan Boon Hyung. And he's really good. He's so funny as well. And he, you never knew what he was like, and then now you see him as a pundit alongside Hafizah Halim and the likes, and he's giving his expert opinion, and people listen to him because he's been there.
Yeah. Do you get a sense that our athletes are not marketed enough?
Yes, very much so. I mean, I 100% agree that we don't really understand the value of our of the sports industry. It's not anyone's fault because no one's really researched it. I mean, just the other day I was preparing for an event and we were staying in a hotel in Kuching, and I saw the sports psychologists. They they had sports science on the back.
Well,
I wanted to speak to them, but it was early breakfast and we were about to go, and I was like, the fact that we've got sports science people in the Sarawak Sukma squad, or rather Sukma contingent, that we've moved forward. The fact that we have that already, like wow. And I actually wanted to speak to them and said, which sport are you representing, or who are you taking care of? We've got sports science people amongst them, which is really, really, in those days we never used to have that kind of thing. Sports psychologists, sports science didn't exist until probably 15 years ago, when they started taking things seriously.
When you were president of MMA Malaysia, right? Like, how much did you focus on marketing, like the fighters?
Well, okay. So as an association, we only market, we only market our national athletes.
Oh.
We don't market the professional athletes because it's not a job.
Oh.
So our job in any association or federation is to develop the sport.
Yep.
So and the only way to do that is when we have our national athletes, then we try and get them their sponsorship through the association, or try and get them to be seen and heard in the public sphere through our association. And because I'd been in media and I had media friends, it was easier for me to get that kind of publicity, that kind of awareness, and that kind of marketing for our national athletes because of my contacts. Obviously, different presidents or different people will have different ways of getting that done. But it was easier for me because I had been in that industry, in the media industry, so it was easier for me to be able to get, the publicity for our national athletes.
Yeah.
We do not, however, have any obligations to market a professional athlete or fighter because they will have their own team, they will have their own people. But for me, I would still help promote them because at the time we had quite a number of fighters who were in 1FC at the time it was called, or One Championship now. So we would sort of ask, and they didn't know this, we should ask the media to sort of focus on them as well. One Championship had their own team that does all the marketing and all that, and also the getting in contact with the media on that because they're a professional outfit.
Yeah.
But in also from another perspective, we were also trying, because it benefits us as well in the long run, right? If we don't support our professional athletes, we're trying to provide a pathway for them to earn money through their careers. So of course we'll go in.
So ultimately, would you say they are mostly responsible for their own marketing?
Ultimately, yes. Any professional fighter. I mean, we have this case now. Remember, a few years ago with our now bronze medalist Lee Zijia. Remember when he decided that he wanted to go become professional. And then he was under BAM at the moment, and there's big hoo-ha with BAM, blah blah blah. And we know the story; it's all out there. The real story we don't know, but and this is what happens. But for us, when I was still at I'm wearing my Masma t-shirt right now. We will still support them because we're not as big as BAM. So we start having fights like that. It's not going to benefit anyone. Yeah. We're trying to grow the sport at the moment. Until today, we're still trying to grow the sport. So you start having your disagreements now. People on the outside are going to look at you and go, oh, they're trying to grow and they're already fighting. And, I know it's a fighting sport, but you don't have to fight amongst yourselves to get the sport moving up. So you've got to be able to be not just diplomatic, but, you've got to work together. It's a team thing. And then bring yourselves up. And then when you get to a certain level, then yes, maybe you turn around and go, where do we go from here? How do we improve ourselves? And there will always be that kind of disagreement. But for now, and as much as, people have said, oh, MMA has been around a long time, we are still very much one of the minor sports. And as a minor sport, you want to develop it. You want to be able to show people that you're together first and then move forward to develop and market and promote the sport before you even think about the bigger picture.
Do you still follow Malaysian MMA a lot?
I wouldn't say a lot, but I do keep in touch with my friends. I mean, even the other day, I am still getting phone calls here and there asking me for advice. I may not give the best advice right now because I don't have the information anymore.
Yeah.
When I was president, I was always, we would always try and keep tabs on what's going on, not just within our state, but the whole country. And people tend to forget that we take care of, the
Anyone to
whole
look
nation.
out for?
Right now?
Yeah.
No, not for me. I mean, I don't know anymore because I've been out of it for quite a while. But I can say that they've, if you look at, they just had a couple of tournaments in Semenanjung, and from when we started Mima, which was the amateur reality TV show in 2013, to now, 11 years later, there's been a vast improvement of how, even the way you look at the athlete now. Last time, you look at the MMA athlete, they'll just go in, blah, blah, blah. And very few people are they look good. Now, I look at them and I look at their photos and go, wow, they really take care of their bodies. They really take their lives or their fights really seriously, even though they're still amateur. So you now see the improvement in terms of how each fighter, we call it athlete, take care of themselves because they know that they need to be fit. So now you're looking at their skill level rather than their fitness.
So I know this is not strictly MMA, but just from a sporting and maybe a media point of view, what do you think of athletes like, let's say, Jojo Ghazali?
Okay, to be really honest, Muay Thai, I have no clue. But it's good for the sport because we have a young man who's helping promote the sport. Whatever is said and done about him, what he says is that for me that's peripheral, because I think social media likes to pick up on that.
Yeah.
But from a sporting point of view, I'm so glad that we've got someone like that doing it. I'm also so glad that because I know his mother, I know and the father's a policeman as well, and discipline is something that they have there, and both parents are sportsmen as well.
Yeah.
So
both fighters.
So basically, they do come from that stock, and he has an older brother and a younger brother, Mickey, who's going to be representing in Sukma as well. So they already have that what you call environment, and obviously they have the coach who's the Thai fighter. He's actually fought in MMA before, and I know his wife is Adolfina, who's also and they're a great family, and they're very protective of their sport and obviously their gym and everything as well. And it's great that they have that family unit, and that's what it's all about. And we always talk about Jojo. You're not segueing because it's still sports.
Yeah.
But he already, I'm not sure whether it's true or not, but he's mentioned he's not going to be fighting for that long. By the time he's 26, 27, he wants to, give up and all that. And to each his own. And he's thinking ahead. But right now, it's great that we have someone who other kids can look up to, and to be able to tell them look, I can achieve this if you work hard. That's the story. That should be the story.
Yeah.
Instead of all the other stuff that he's talking about. Because when you're young, and we've been there, we say things and people, not especially now with social media, and they'll construe it and they'll twist it, whatever. And I never look at that because I know, being in my industry for the last 30 years, whatever you say, people are always going to twist it. So it doesn't matter. You got to look at the bigger picture and it's like, okay, he's promoting the sport, he's doing well, and it's helping everyone else achieve or be make full awareness or promote sport, and that's the most important thing for me, at least.
Yeah, I know you have like some insight into boxing as well. What do you think about Delonio Kilat Boy? Let's put it this way.
Well, boxing, again, different weight categories, and all that. I think he deserves what his latest title and all that. Beyond that, I mean, you've got to look at it from how far do you want to go? Do you want to be? Everyone says you want to be jago kampong, you want to be jago, and there's another one like jago ASEAN, or you want to be like Asian, or you want to be world or whatever. Yeah. But that's up to him, up to where he wants to go.
Is it in terms of like picking your opponents? I mean, I know in boxing there's a lot of that, right?
Yes, I mean it's boxing is very subjective. Yeah. I hate to say it, but and it depends on you, and you got to have the right matchup as well. You can't be fighting someone who's a lot heavier, and plus because they have different weight categories, so you need to fight obviously someone within your weight category as well. And obviously you don't want to be fighting someone who's had a lot of fights and won, and then you need to progressively move yourself up. That's how it is with combat sports. You can't be and we've had this case where where we had Agilantani, our MMA fighter who fought the American guy, who was he's a All-American wrestler, and all the hype that was brought to him, and he believed that he could win against him. I can't even remember the American guy. I mean, he lost in the UFC in his first fight to it was straight. Remember that fight that like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever. That was him. He lost it. So
I mean, this is like a criticism of boxing as a whole. But then, in terms of like picking your fights, do you just prolong your time in the sun, or do you just go for the best fights, the hardest fights? I know this is you get a lot of boxers at that. I mean, I don't want to choose a name or anything like that. But do you know what I'm getting at, like in terms of?
Well, this is where the professional boxers. Yeah. It's different. You can't because you're. At the end of the day, for someone to lay their lives on line, you have to remember this. You're being paid to do this fight. Yeah. We're not talking and being paid. Your body is being smashed. So remember that. As a professional, you got to pick and choose. Yeah. Like, do I want to do this and make a lot of money and like what's his name? Oh God. See, suddenly I've forgotten all the boxers' names.
Getting old, bro.
Yeah. It's not that. It's just so like some of them like to dodge and weave and say and then get their money because they don't want to be broken. But you're a fighter,
Yeah.
But it's not that straightforward to go. I'll pick and choose all the fights because if you lose, you're not going to get much, and you still get beaten up. So just remember, your face and whatever, your body is your product. So they'll pick and choose. You can't really say that I want to do this because there's more money in it, because it might not be much for you.
Is there more say for boxers than like say an MMA fighter? Because I mean, there's always this. People say how in like the UFC or one, maybe they have the best matchups, which is why maybe contribute to the popularity now. Whereas boxing, it's like I said, the criticism was that people like to pick and choose their fights.
Well, with MMA, there's not that many associations. With boxing, I mean, look at the Olympics now. I mean, the International Boxing Council is not even part of the Olympics at the moment. I mean, there's so much politics going on that it's really sad. I mean, politics always gets in the way of everything. and then they don't have anything to do with boxing. And from what I hear, boxing's getting a very bad rep right now.
Yeah.
So gone are the days when you used to watch Mike Tyson and Frank Bruno and Lennox Lewis.
I mean, there was that criticism that the fight between, you see, now my memory
The
is
female.
no, I mean we're talking about boxing, like
Mayweather.
and that how he like
Pacquiao.
delayed the fight until like Pacquiao was like a bit older and slower.
Yeah, I mean.
So do you feel that there's like a
Well,
legit criticism of boxing?
that's the thing. Professional boxing,
Yeah.
it's all about the money. It's like how much you can make without having to, fight your way through. But Floyd Mayweather, that's why they call him Money Mayweather,
Mayweather,
right?
yeah.
Because he knew, how to get that done. But that's professional boxing. It's business.
Yeah.
So
Would you
what do
advise
wanna
Killer
say?
Boy
You
to
have
like
accept it.
drag his time in the sun?
Who? Sorry.
Killer Boy, sorry.
Again, it's how his management has to, because he needs to speak to his management, and that's where it is with professional boxing. When you're an amateur, you want to get as many fights you want to get the wins.
Yeah.
Here, it's like how do you figure it out? So, professional boxing is very different. I mean, I don't claim to know everything about it,
No.
but within professional sports, we do understand where things needs to be, figured out. And at the end of the day, you've got to take care of your boxer because that's his bread and butter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought, instead of digging into your ancient past all the time, right?
You should pass.
I just thought, I want to take your expert opinion on, current like affairs related to like media and stuff like that. I mean, your expert opinion, or you could just be like talking out your ass. But I just wanted to know your opinion on stuff like this.
Expert opinion. I love the
So
sound of that. It's
like just media related
get
news.
yourself in trouble.
So like just like a softball, like right now, like what do you think about the new someone coming from a theater background, right? Obviously. So what do you think about plans to turn the Dun into a performing arts center?
You mean the Dus?
Yeah, the old Dus, right? That's right. Yeah.
The old Dun, now Dus. I think it's a great idea. The fact that we finally, again, I need to ask the question: what's our long-term objective?
Yeah.
Is it just going to be having international events coming over, or are we building and developing our own creative industry? And that's creative and performing arts industry, because that's really important question that we need to ask. If it's just bringing, we're going to have a lot more concerts, a lot more theatre productions coming in, there isn't much of a transfer of knowledge unless it's only for the theatre. The biggest example is Istana Budaya. To me, it's almost like a white elephant. We don't get that many productions there. It's supposed to be styled on like the Sydney Opera House, right? Or the Royal Albert Hall. But the thing is, it's underutilized. So we don't want the Dus or the Old Dun to be...
Is it because there are better venues? Like maybe like the Philharmonic, like...
No,
Mr.
it's not. It's
Hall
not
or
because
something?
it's a better venue. It's promoted well.
Yeah.
See, remember, at the end of the day, it's not about the location is important, but you've got to promote the location, and also with the obviously, as you know, the history with the UK and theatre, it's very strong. That's where it comes from, Shakespeare, and also with Australia as well. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So there is a very strong arts community there. We've got to do the same here. We've got to build the arts community here, and through the Dun and through the Dus, or whatever you want to call it, the performing arts, you've got to build that community. And we have that, we have a very young community. We have that stuff like Wat and all that happening. We have communities like House, who's around, and we need all that to be able to, for them to be able to utilize that space as well and help build that community, obviously through the help of the ministry and all that. so that we can have our own local people to be able to utilize that space and also attract through that context to have more performances and more stuff there. It's not just big international events, but it's also the community helps build and create more promotion for the DIS or Performing Arts Centre, whatever it's going to be called in the future. And it's really important to start now. And if you, I think there is a committee that's being headed by Deputy Minister Snowden right now. So the initial committee is probably going to be discussing that. But I do hope that they will, be able to engage with us as well, from the community, to be able to say where do we develop this, and I really, really do hope that happens.
What kind of requirements do you think a event space like that should have?
Again, I don't know we don't know what it is, but obviously they've talked about it being state of the art.
Yeah.
I think state of the art. I don't know what state of the art means in this sense, because is it state of the art for stadium? State of the art for obviously for theatre, but is it musical theatre? Is it for theatre? Is it for dance? There are different equipments that needed for each type of discipline, or rather, dance will have different, theatre will have different type of lighting and sound equipment. Obviously, musical theatre will have different as well. So there are various things within that you need to work out. If you're looking at just opera, it's also different because the acoustics need to be different. If you're talking about, I don't know, doing stand-up, it's also different. If you're talking about orchestral, the orchestra is also different. So opera and orchestra, again, how do you?
Do you think that capacity is good enough? Like maybe
I don't know.
Talking about 5,000 to 6,000.
We don't know. I have not seen anything until it comes out, until it's available to the public, for us to be able to see what the whole thing is going to be like. Everyone's just like it's like a dart now. They're like throwing at a dartboard, thinking.
What are your views on the state government giving funding to foreign productions, say The Edge of the World?
I wasn't
the James
around,
Bond movie, yeah.
But as you can see, your answer is right there. No one's talking about it, and it's really sad because I think probably the state governments have learned the hard way. So what's happened now? I'm also part of the FINAS ecosystem for Sarawak.
Oh.
So we are collaborating now with MOTAC, right? So MOTAC, MTCP rather. So now
the Sarawak Tourism Ministry.
Yeah. So now what's happened is any production that comes in will have to go through FINAS first. So MTCP will go speak to FINAS and see. So we are now, I wouldn't call us a gatekeeper, but we'll see whether any films are feasible. Obviously, FINAS has their own systems as well, but for especially the FINAS Sarawak ecosystem, we are now sort of guiding MTCP in that sense, or working alongside them, so that things like this in the past won't happen again.
Do you think it was because of COVID that it didn't succeed the way it did? Or?
I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't make any.
Do you have any opinions on the film?
It's okay. It's not. To be honest, it wasn't. From a Sarawakan point of view, where obviously everyone's going to be disappointed because it's always seen from a foreigner's eyes, but it was supposed to be a Hollywood film, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very hard for us to be able to go. And every film that comes from Hollywood is always going to be, one, romanticized, and two, is going to be seen from a Western point of view.
Yeah.
So how do you do films that's going to be internationally acclaimed or internationally accepted, and it gives it from the narrative from us, and we've seen that so many other movies. I mean, look at Parasite. Great example.
I mean, realistically, in your opinion, do you feel we are capable of doing a better production than that?
Not at the moment.
No.
We don't have the expertise. We don't have the. We don't have enough people who are capable of doing film production here.
Like, just say Malaysia in general?
Malaysia, yes, we do.
You think so?
Sarawak, no. Yes, Malaysia, we do. We do. We do have capable people. We've got enough people who have done enough international production, even commercials.
Yeah.
So they've handled international commercials, and you can do commercials, you can do feature films. It's just that it's long form.
But to a
yes.
level where it will succeed
Yes,
internationally?
of course, we do. It's just a matter but ego's always get in the way of everything, isn't it? So someone thinks they're better, blah, 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 and then we never get things done because we're fighting amongst ourselves. We're really good at that.
No?
I mean, if that sounds controversial, but whenever somebody fights against us, we're like the Thais, we'll fight amongst ourselves, but somebody says something about country, boom, we come together and we're like, us and the Thais are similar in that sense.
Okay.
It's so funny, just different language.
So another like current affair question, but maybe a bit more controversial for you because like I know you're good friends. yeah. So like I mean we talked about it like off screen, but I mean I don't really want to get into like
Out of curiosity, is it?
accuracy. I mean like I don't want to get into the weeds of like the issue in terms of like we're talking about Harith Iskandar's like high profile divorce, right? So like obviously I don't really care about the story as much, but I cared more about what do you think about this perception of like putting your personal life out there as someone who obviously in the public eye, who always speaks about marketing yourself, who like how do you see this? And I know you're good friends, so like I wouldn't really ask for opinions on like the personal situation, but like how do you see how it's been handled?
I haven't spoken to Harith about this at all because I value everyone's privacy.
Yeah.
However, in this sense, I've never been the type, and people know this. I mean, my friends know this, and I think general media knows that I don't what we call launder my dirty linen. I know it sounds really bad in public because I don't really know what their reasoning was for being able to put this out in the public sphere. It becomes, for me, I look at it this point of view, as someone who has children myself, it's not good for the children, and also for me, as much as we say, they say that they're putting things together. I've never been the type, or I think some things for us privacy is very very important for someone like me. I mean, we have our public personas. Everyone knows this. You have a public persona. You have you do when you're out there in the world, in the public. We're judged on how we behave. Even sometimes when we're ourselves, people say, "Hey, you're not like that." I'm like, "Oh, actually," and it's been done to me before in the past where I'm like, I'm actually being myself, and they're like, "Oh, that's not you." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I have to be that public persona," but my public persona is not very much different to who I am.
Yeah.
Because the one difference I have is I do value the privacy of my family, and I think that's one line you do not cross because it's I come from a big family anyway, and I don't want them to be subjected to all these kind of things, which is he's going to go through right now, Harith and his and Jasmine and the kids, because I feel more for the kids. The fact that they've been put into the limelight, because as you know, I mean, we know this with Harith and Jasmine and the kids, they've always been out there, and they have this. They've been in social media for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I'm the other extreme. I do not allow that to happen to my family because, for me, this is my work.
Yeah.
And that's what you should be. And I've had this before where people have asked me, like, what do you like? I said, no, you ask me about my work, but not about my life, because to me, that's really sacred, I guess.
So this is obviously like a personal choice, but how do you look at that idea of, like, this argument that, being authentic, being transparent in the public eye, and I don't want to use this word like, I don't want to be cynical about it, but it's really just good content, like it's really good publicity, and since you're in the public eye anyway, like you mentioned, the family has been like very visible from early age, so.
There is this thing that we say in PR and also in the entertainment industry, is like any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
And I know you don't like, you say it's content and all that, but it is content.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, they know what they're doing. So, when we saw they were at the court and the media was there, I mean, that's so sort of atypical of what you see in Hollywood. You don't so much see it now. I think it's becoming a bit more now because the way the social media is different now with influencers and all that. They open their lives to the
that's
the
what I was
public.
getting at. I mean,
Yeah, I understand that. And usually with older celebrities like us,
Yeah.
we didn't grow up during social media.
Yeah.
We grew up prior to social media. So a lot of us tend to like keep that, within. But again, it's really hard to tell whether this is done deliberately or not, because you'd have to ask, the players involved, and it is at the end of the day. Is this something that it's for public consumption?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I wouldn't. It breaks my heart to see the kids being put out there. To me, that's the most important thing, because they have to grow up knowing that this has happened, and you can't erase it anymore.
Yeah.
Because when you grow up, you're going to be reminded of that moment again, over and over and over, and to me, that's really painful to watch and to go through. So whatever, I'm quite sure it's genuine what's happening. It is genuine what's happening with all of them. But I always look at it from how will the kids handle this, because they're the ones that's going to be, one day there's going to be a kid, a reporter, and go, how do you feel going through that? And they have to answer.
Yeah.
You can't, unless we protect them. And that's what I do. I protect. I will never allow that to happen to mine, because I don't think it's fair on any children to have to go through that.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. And it's, and as much as people are like, it's really painful.
It's interesting because, like, obviously growing up with, I'm not that young, but like, growing up with social media, we've always been told that, like, we see streamers, like you said, influencers, just be authentic, like put yourself out there. This is how like people relate. And there was a very bold move from him. So like, just curious, like I get the impulse to like just, shield yourself, like not really put yourself out there, at least your personal life. I mean, I have that impulse as well. But, it's just interesting to see, like, your thoughts on, like, is this just kind of the way you kind of build, like, a name for yourself, brand or anything like that, And obviously he's, like, a very well-known person. So, but for personal reasons, that's just not what you do. Yeah.
Well, you come to a stage where you're in between a rock and a very hard place. So do you make yourself relevant, or
do you have that pressure?
I'm not that famous, so I don't care.
Oh, it's so humble.
No. I'm being honest. I'm like,
Yeah,
because
okay.
I've always been the type that will, my work speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And then, you know me. I'm like, I don't go around going, do you know who I am? Blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, it's just the work will speak for itself.
Yeah.
So I don't really need to. And as you're older, I've gotten, I actually cherish having all this privacy, because growing up at that age, at that time, oh my God, it's crazy. It, like, every nook and cranny you couldn't really hide because everyone would know who you are. Even until today, you'll always get an older person who goes,
Yeah.
it's funny. Because you've heard it. It's like,
Yeah.
I've seen you somewhere, right? And you don't know whether to answer them or not.
Yeah.
So imagine like someone like Harith going through this now.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the limelight's back on him. Whether it's good or bad, only they can say.
Yeah.
But the limelight is on them right now.
Yeah.
And then and they're the next bit of story that's going to be talked about by everyone. Whether you read the comments is good or bad, you have to accept it, because people now have every right to say what they want, because social media is such an open space to be able to do that. So you've got to accept the good and the bad. So that's why I said right just now, any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah. Like, would he be offended about this conversation?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm not even generalizing, but I again, it could happen to anyone.
Yeah.
So this is basically the conversation we're having now. It doesn't have to be Harith and his wife. It could be anyone else who are equally as popular or otherwise. That we know the lessons learned. I mean, it could happen to me one day too, and I will look back and go,
Would you say this is just a personal choice or just something that you believe strongly? I mean, if you were to advise me, like, to put myself out there.
in terms of what? Getting yourself in trouble like this? Okay, getting married and
I want to
divorced?
be famous.
Oh, you want to be famous, so I'm going to get married and divorced straight away. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're just being really, just transparent, authentic, and really shameless with it,
You've got like three comedians like myself, Harith Kanda, Datta Afrin Salki, all comedians. Divorced. we were funny at one point, not anymore. No, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, marry the one that made you laugh. That's it, right?
Not anymore. Yeah, laughing at something else. Anyway, yeah. But I'm not the person to give advice to this kind of thing. I tell people it's like, don't get married. But then I'll get someone who'll kill me. So, yeah, but no, I mean, it's different because when you're a celebrity, the limelight really is on you. I mean, every little thing that you do, even more so when you become very popular, every little thing you do, they will scrutinize and they will look at it and go, why is he doing this? In fact, you're just going to go for a drink. You're like, I just want to go for a drink. And like, why is he going for a drink in that place?
Did you enjoy it?
I didn't really. There were moments, yes, of course, when I was younger, I was like, wow, people know me.
Well,
But then I was like, actually, people know me for my work or people know me because they like me?
well.
So, there's that blurred line as well, Obviously, you get fanatics as well, people who are, crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but the thing is, I grew up in a era where it was prior to social media, so it's very different. It's like for us, we shot on film. Grrr, now it's digital, very different.
I mean, I'm sure you were in the tabloids like once or twice, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got the copies of it as well. Yeah.
So, any scandals that I was too young to know of?
Too late now.
Yeah.
And on that note, yeah. Harris, this is not about you, yeah. It's my show.
Sorry, I asked the question. Yeah.
Exactly. You've been watching us on the RSS. It's been quite, I wouldn't say even controversial. The second half was a bit spicy, but
I hope
it's
okay.
fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you have any other questions or any burning stuff that you want me and obviously Jason to talk about, do let us know. Our email is just here, somewhere here. And we'll see you again in the next edition of the RSS. Bye bye.
Bye.